Hello and welcome back to the MMA Split Pick Show. I'm Matt.
Happy birthday, Matt.
It is my birthday. We are doing this on my birthday. We have not seen Sly today. We were just discussing this. We don't know if he's going to join us for the picks, if he's going to join us for birthday drinks afterwards. He was out yesterday. I have not seen him yet today. I hope he's okay. If I haven't seen him by tomorrow, I should probably, notify somebody, but I'm sure he'll pop up at some points in between, so nothing to worry about. And however much we do care about Sly, there are far more important things than him or my birthday to discuss, because we have got the Ultimate Fighter finale this weekend, and headlined not by the coaches, because, of course, while the coaches do fight, if there's no title on the line, the coaches were Volkanovski, featherweight champion, and Ortega, who are going to be fighting on the next pay-per-view card. So what have the UFC done instead? They found the two guys.
Sorry, Matt. I think it's been a really, really long time since they actually had the coaches fight on the same cards as the finalists. I might be wrong here, but I think we got a date back to maybe season 2 or 3 or something. They've adopted this model for a long time. And I think part of it is getting the coaches to agree to being in Las Vegas for that length of time leading up to it. And obviously after the finale, there is a runoff and everything. But I feel that most coaches have kind of always pushed back and been like, we're going to do the fight maybe 3-4 months after we finish filming the show, so I can actually do my shit properly. Because away from home, back home, straight into a camp, kind of a rough one.
I always felt it was more affected by whether or not it was like a number one contender fight or whether or not it was a title fight. So you think, for example, oh God, what's the season with TJ Dillashaw and those guys where it's Bisping and Mayhem Miller?
Yeah, Bisping Miller might be the last one that did it on the same card. But even then, I'm not 100% sure if they were on the same one. I mean, that's a terrible fight. And I've seen it more than once. So a terrible fight for Mayhem, obviously. It might, that one probably is on the same cards, but the vast majority of them kind of get bumped to like the following pay-per-view or.
Josh, you are far more experienced on the Ultimate Fighter than myself. I will completely concede you are probably right. I only brought this up to say that what the UFC have done instead is they have found two of the most explosively entertaining guys that they could possibly find to main event this thing, and it's going to be fire. They've got Kevin Lee, they've got D-Rod, they've got GM3, they've got a pretty solid prelims. This is a good card. This has got a little bit of everything. This has got your Ultimate Fighter resolutions. This has got some barn-burning fights, some names everybody loves to see, a few talking points as well. And we'll start with the main event, but then we'll very much dig into, excuse me, sorry, somebody's trying to call me at the moment. It is my birthday.
We've also got a good PFL on tonight as well. It's going to be a good week of MMA. Brendan Loughnane fighting. Come on, Britain. Actually, they got good fights all the way through. Jason Knight's back fighting for the PFL. They got Chris Camozzi against, the former UFC fighter came through with Khalil Roundtree. Corey Hendricks on the prelims. That'd be a good one. But man, fucking Barbosa Chikadze. That deserves a Colkin face.
Yeah.
I'm pretty excited for this fight.
This is, well, I almost think this is a sort of classic European kickboxer against a Brazilian traditional Muay Thai fighter. The kicks are everything in this. Obviously, I think Barbosa has got the better hands, the better boxing, certainly more damaging with what he can do with his hands. But it's like, you've got Chikadze's high kicks, his body kicks, the liver kick that he lands, which is lethal. And he's obviously the younger guy. In many ways, I was watching Dan Hardy's breakdown. He kind of described that you could say this is kind of almost like the new Barbosa type fighter taking on the old Barbosa. Like there's so much of the DNA of how they fight and their sort of background and philosophy to mixed martial arts. The question is whether or not Chikadze is the younger, improved guy that's able to sort of, be a better representation of modern MMA, or whether or not he doesn't quite have the same kind of experience or weapons as Barbosa. And without sort of going straight into our picks, the thing that really stands out for me with this is I just think Barbosa's got so many weapons. There's so many different kicks that he can use. He can attack every single part of the body. He'll attack the legs brutally. He can attack the body brutally. He can go high. He can set things up for later. There's so many different ways that he can come at you. You know, even in close with the boxing, which we've seen a massive improvement of, particularly since he's been down at featherweight. You know, going to the body, landing those hooks, which knocked down Amikani. I don't know whether or not Chikadze just gets overwhelmed in this a little bit. What's your thoughts?
I don't know, man. I really think this is going to come down to, I mean, like you say, there's a lot of similarities between the two. What we haven't seen from Chikadze and we've seen from Barbosa many, many a time is that Barbosa reads his opponents really well. He reads their setups really well, and he finds ways to land super damaging counters anytime guys go back to the well too often on the same sort of technique. Chikadze isn't, you know, he has nice setups. He has great kickboxing. He hasn't got a lot that Barbosa hasn't seen. Like you say, Barbosa's got the most versatility. For me, I really think it comes down to, can Barbosa settle in to counter striking and stealing the momentum away from Chikadze and burn himself out early on, because he is by far the younger fighter here? Or can Chikadze kind of swarm him with the pressure and the power early on? If this was a 3-round fight, I'd be picking Chikadze very easily. But a 5-round fight kind of has me scratching my head. Barbosa is such a crafty vet, you know? I kind of go back to the Beneil Dariush fight. He sees Dariush. Obviously, this is for a takedown, so it's not going to be similar to what we're seeing from Chikadze. But he sees Dariush mask his level change with the same setup sort of 2-3 times in a row. And, you know, then he lands a flying knee on him the final time he tries it and just absolutely flatlines him. This is the kind of thing Barbosa does. Even in the fight against Kevin Lee, where he was getting absolutely destroyed, he manages to time that spinning heel kick right at the end. Yeah, gets him, you know, real stanky leg. You know, when you look up stanky leg, they have the GIF of Kevin Lee from that fight. That's how fucking bad it was. Barbosa's got some fucking tricks, you know, but I really don't know. Have you got a decision on this yet? Do you know which way you're leaning?
Okay, it's interesting that you felt that a 3-round would have favored Chikadze more, because I feel like one big factor in this, I know that at 155, Barbosa can still be lethal in that 4th and 5th round. One thing that has stood out from his 3 featherweight fights I've seen so far is there does seem to be a drop-off in activity in the 3rd round. Now, we didn't really see it in the same way in the Shane Burgos fight, because that fight ended about, 45 seconds into the 3rd round. But it feels like the advantage he's got in that size and still being able to keep his speed in that division might be counterset by the fact that he doesn't have the same energy across 5 rounds. And the question for me in that case, and having not seen him do 5 rounds at 45, is he going to be able to really use that extra size and power to make himself effective enough? Or is he, is his gas tank fine? Or is he going to be able to take a round off here and there and manage things effectively? Because I do think Chikadze is very dangerous. It just feels like he's a significantly more slender guy. If you see the two of them, I don't feel like he's got the same kind of power, and he might not even have the same kind of speed.
Speed-wise is close. Chikadze, I think, with the kicks especially, definitely has the power. He doesn't have to wind up his power strikes, his power kicks as much as Barbosa does. You know what? I'm just looking at it. I didn't realize Chikadze is actually 33. I thought he was south of 30. So the age difference isn't as much. I really don't think the gas tank's going to be as much of an issue for Barbosa here. I think he's going to pace himself well, knowing that it's a 5-round fight. I think he's going to be on his bike for the first round or 2 anyway, because I think Chikadze is really going to look to dominate the early going of the fight. He's the slightly bigger guy, slightly younger. I think he's got the more powerful kicks, and I fully expect Chikadze to really, come out hot and heavy in the opening frame at least. And I really think that Barbosa, as the fight goes on, the more that he can see of Chikadze, up close, actually there, looking through the gloves at his man, the more time he gets in the ring with him, the more it's going to favor him. But you make an interesting point. Fuck, man. I'm just going to throw it out there. I'm going to go Chikadze by decision.
Okay.
But
I just thought, I rewatched the Barbosa fight against Shane Burgos, and I think Shane Burgos is a monster of a featherweight. I really do. And he made the shots that he landed in that fight. He looks so fast. He looks so crisp. I know Chikadze hasn't fought at the same level, and he's beaten what he's been put in front of, and you have to sort of factor that in and respect that. I just don't know if he's going to... I just feel like Barbosa is going to feel... I know maybe not height-wise, he's just going to feel like a much bigger guy. I think he does hit harder, and I think he punches harder as well. I think that's going to be a really big factor here. I don't think there's the same... Even if at kicking range, Barbosa feels like things aren't going the way he wants them to, I feel like he's the one that can close that distance, get inside a little bit closer in the boxing range, and be able to land those hooks to the body and the head more effectively than what Chikadze can do. I also think he's got more of a grappling threat as well. If he feels like he needs to, he can threaten the takedown. He can try and take things down to the ground. He can open up those other avenues. And he kind of knows that with Chikadze, he's such a specialist. His number one goal, if he sees a takedown, is going to be staying on his feet at all times. And, you know, that works for very high level strikers, but it can also make you a little bit predictable. So I'm going to go Barbosa. I'm going to go knockout, I think somewhere around the 3rd or 4th round.
Fair enough.
Very excited about this fight.
Just food for thought, actually, because I only just sort of realized this. I don't know why I didn't put 2 and 2 together. But obviously, Chikadze is King's MMA as well. So I got to figure Beneil Dariush has been in his ear a little bit before this fight, trying to prep him with some of some of that first-hand experience. We'll see, though. Hey, it's nice that we're not picking the same guy in the main event.
This is true.
It's been a while since we had that.
This is true. This is true. And listen, no matter how you look at this, right? Somebody's shin is getting splintered. Somebody's liver is getting perforated. Ribs are getting cracked. This is a stand and bang, brutal. Even though I think Barbosa might try and threaten a takedown, this is a striking extravaganza and is going to serve as a hell of a showpiece for what should be a really fun Ultimate Fighter. But as we segue across to this, I got to be honest, man, and I'm assuming you're now up to date. You, of course, at least know who's in the final. I am gutted that Tracy and Gore got injured, man, because I think that him versus Battle would have been a really great final. Whereas now I look at Gabriel Urbina and I think, at best, you were the 4th best middleweight in that house, at best. And I just think Brian Battle's going to go through you. I don't think it's a competitive contest all of a sudden, which is a shame.
I know what you mean. Very sorry to see Trishawn go. I think, Gilbert Urbina is the first Urbina brother to get a win on the Ultimate Fighter. Wouldn't it be something if an Urbina took home that title, a TUF champion? I certainly feel that Urbina had a huge advantage in that semi-final against Gore on the ground. And for whatever reason, decided that he was just going to stand toe-to-toe because until he get knocked out, he didn't look technically outclassed on the feet against a heavy-handed fighter with only three fights experience. But against Brian Battle, who's not just, a good striker, but a very awkward striker, a very busy striker, and a guy that can hit pretty fucking hard. Not as hard as Gore, but pretty hard. Oh, yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing I did notice with Battle in the House is when, Petrosky took him down, he's always very quick to be getting up again. And even though it opens himself up to the strikes, Petrosky had to keep readjusting because he was so quick and dedicated to try and get up and change position and go to his back and go to his front and really not absorb as much damage as I thought he was going to take. I'm quietly sort of assuming that he's a bit of a Derek Lewis, just stand the fuck up kind of guy. He looks strong as hell when he's fighting. When he's weighing in, I think... Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that he exhausted Andre in many ways with that standing up. Like, the amount of energy that Andre used in that first 6 minutes just to kind of find his bearings and keep his sort of ground control. He looked like a broken man by the time that the submission gets locked in the second round. So Brian's got a gas tank. He's strong. He's dangerous. He's awkward. He's creative. I think he wins this reasonably comfortably. I think he's your middleweight Ultimate Fighter.
Yeah, I think Urbina's probably going to have an edge on the ground. I think Battle's got enough to keep it standing. I'm with you. I think Battle takes all 3 rounds and the decision.
Nice. And that takes us to our bantamweight tough finale. We've got Ricky Tercios taking on, oh God, what's his name?
Brady Heiston.
Brady Heiston. A fellow firefighter like Stipe Miocic.
Nice.
I have been very impressed with Ricky Tercios in the house and quietly impressed with Brady. They've had very differing sort of fights. Ricky's been the great fights, back and forth, extremely creative and explosive and entertaining fighter. And then Brady's just very quietly been doing his thing, beating guys, had a good scrap with his roommate, and then obviously completely just went through Vincent, who I thought was going to make it to the final. Just dominated him on the ground.
He got a meniscus tear, right? His knee got trapped in like a bent position. I don't know. I watched the episode, I think, yesterday.
You're fresher on it than me.
They were saying it was like a bucket tear in the cartilage, in the meniscus in his knee. Sorry. So basically, what happens if I've got this right? I'm not his doctor, but the cartilage traps down, and it just you can't knock your leg out anymore. He complained about it, and seeing this guy fight and knowing his story, this isn't like when Petrosky said he got headbutted. This guy is not going to bitch for nothing. And if you kind of watch from a certain point, for no reason at all, his leg is just constantly bent, whatever position. You know, he rolls himself into trouble at one point just because it's the only way to keep his leg from just sort of flopping around so he can get that knee back down to the ground. But yeah, it did look like his leg was bent there. I'm not taking anything away from Brady. It's hard to say that the injury led to the defeat. But it obviously certainly changed things once they got down to the ground. But yeah, man, Brady is a smothering fighter once he gets on top. Had some good fights there in the house. I think he's an interesting prospect. I think Tercios, though, is so aggressive when he gets taken down in landing strikes, threatening submissions, and getting back up again. Tercios is a goddamn fucking dog. I love that kid. I just think this is a bad matchup for Brady. Looking at all the different guys in the house, I think Tercios has the most aggressive kind of submission game and ground game and the much better stand-up. So
he's definitely got the much better stand-up. And if you look at his first fight in the house against a guy that sort of grappling was his bread and butter, he was able to get back up out of situations, reverse situations, threaten with submissions, and really piece him up. I mean, he's such a creative, confident striker. You know, there's something, his whole personality, it exudes in his fighting style. He's a dangerous guy, man. I think they're both going to do well in the UFC. I'm picking Ricky. I'm picking Ricky on decision.
Yeah, the same. Man, I like the way he looks like he's about to get all emotional. I mean, out of nowhere, just gets very technical, and his timing sort of like shores up even better. And you're like, oh, okay, you just like fucking with people like that. You suck him in like Max Holloway. We're going to stand and bang. I mean, you just fucking slip and rip. Cheeky bastard. Listen,
he's having fun. It's easy to focus on being technical when you're in the groove and you're enjoying the shit. But I enjoyed watching him in the house. I'm going to enjoy watching him in the UFC. It's going to be a lot of fun. Before we touch on D-Rod versus Kevin Lee, let's touch on the other fight because Andre Petrosky is getting his chance on the card. He's fighting Michael Gilmore. Gilmore was close. So Michael came into the house to take a fight on 2 days' notice because of an injury to one of the fighters for Team Ortega. He apparently just didn't make the cut for the UFC, quit his job, stuck around just in case something happened, got his opportunity with no time to train, and unfortunately got his ass kicked. But clearly Dana White respected the fact that he came in and had a chance and he had a go, and he's giving him a shot. Not an easy shot because Andre was probably the third best middleweight in the house. I think Andre will end up winning that fight, but nice to see him getting his shot at least. I hope he gets paid for it.
Yeah, it won't be a lot. It's not going to make up for the job he quit.
No, but it's something. And obviously, I will pick Andre there because Andre's a grappling beast.
Oh yeah, Petrosky by submission. It's just like how early it happens. I'm thinking round one. You know, Petrosky definitely seems to be a one round kind of fighter. He does not train to fight more than 5 minutes, I think.
No, but he's good for that 5 minutes. I will also say submission.
Fucking good. Yeah.
Right, and that's Ultimate Fighter done. Let's talk about back to regular UFC fighters. Kevin Lee, he's back at welterweight. He's taking on D-Rod. It's definitely a lower level of competition quality compared to his last welterweight fight against RDA. But RDA is also a tweener. So he's taking on D-Rod. And man, if you want to feel like what welterweight feels like, welcome. Because D-Rod's as big as the fucking welterweights come. This is a tough first fight for Kevin Lee. He's going to have to adjust to a larger human being than he's used to dealing with.
Oh, yeah. The thing is, though, Kevin Lee's been in the UFC since he was pretty much a fucking kid, you know? And it's hard to say what Kevin Lee's truly best at because he keeps evolving and elevating his game in all areas. I'm kind of with you that on paper, you know, this should be a bit of a mismatch. Not in terms of technical ability, but just D-Rod lands. He's kind of a heavy volume striker. He's gonna fuck you up, and he's really hard to slow down. He just keeps moving forward and moving forward. I just feel like Kevin Lee's going to be able to mix in enough efficient and tiring grappling and enough footwork to really make this a close fight. I think it's going to be such a good card because I really don't know in a few of these key fights who I should be picking. I'm actually going to take the Motown Phenom by decision.
Okay, so do I think Kevin Lee's a better fighter than D-Rod? 100 times yes. I think D-Rod's slow. I think he's powerful. I think there's lots of things I like about him, but I don't think we shouldn't be talking about these two in the same level of ability. But size matters. And I just question, well, the interesting thing is that Kevin Lee's still got reach on him. He's still got reach on him by at least like 2 or 3 inches, even though he's giving up about 3 or 4 inches in height. But is it a case where this heavier guy is just going to be that much harder to take down, that much harder to deal with, hits that much harder that you can't really have the same entries? Or is it going to be a case where he's just faster than D-Rod? Because D-Rod's a little slow. I can see him going to try and land something up top, Kevin Lee diving under, using the momentum to take him down and being effective on the ground and keeping him down. I would like to think that Kevin Lee can still be relevant in one weight class in the UFC. I'm going to say he gets a win, but I think it's going to be a close decision. I don't think it's an easy fight.
Shit, we got in the same way there.
Yeah. Finally agreed. Or we agreed on Spurgios as well. And
ultimately, I just kind of feel like D-Rod can't really win a fight by sitting back and letting it come to him. If he moves forward like he usually does, Kevin Lee's going to get a couple of takedowns. If he doesn't get the takedowns, he's going to be able to at least sink in a single leg, start running the pipe, get him down to the fence, and, you know, really just start fucking with D-Rod, you know, threatening the double leg, threatening the dirty boxing. I don't think this one's going to be the funnest fight on the card. I'm very excited to see how it pans out. I think it's going to be a dirty, grind it out kind of fight, you know.
That seems a reasonable thought. And then running out the card, we've got Mahmoud Muradov taking on GM3. GM3 obviously back in the win column. You think this is a mismatch? I know nothing about Muradov.
Yeah, you know,
like a 16-fight win streak or something like that.
Yeah, the guy's a fucking monster. He hits pretty fucking hard. He hits harder than Chikadze. I'm confident.
Yeah, he chicken-legged Andrew Sanchez.
Yeah, this guy hits harder than Chimaev. I'm not saying that, you know, Chimaev maybe kind of just caught GM3 with a lucky shot. I'm not saying GM3's got no chin. I'm not implying he's a bitch at all. I really like this guy a lot. This is a fucking mismatch. This is an absolute mismatch. Muradov is gonna run through him. It's just gonna be ugly. I can't wait to see it.
So I take it what you're saying is Muradov by knockout.
Yeah.
I will agree with you on that one. That takes us through the main card. What a great main card it is. We got some prelims to enjoy as well. So
maybe the best prelims in fucking months, if I'm honest, on paper.
Well, dude, any prelims that's got your favorite fighter, Sam Alvey, on there is a good prelim in my book. And he's got a fight that he might actually win, so that's interesting. But kicking off,
disagree.
kicking off the main card, man, it's the man who gives no interview, whether he wins or loses. ADC, he's back finally after a couple of he teased us.
With the fires.
He teased us a few times. He said he was coming back. He was booked to come back, and then no, I'm making you bastards wait a little bit longer. But he's here, and he's fighting on the man who looks like he's the scariest dude in the division, but might be the weakest chin in the division. Abdul Razak Al Hassan.
Everything that could have gone in his chin went in his hands. All right? It's just poorly balanced.
What you're saying is God can give with both hands, but it means that you get no chin.
Pretty much, yeah. I guess it's the weight of them hands pulling down on his shoulders and whatnot all day long, just sucking the energy out of his neck. But
if we judge the quality of fighters on their thigh muscles and calf muscles, Al Hassan would be the champion of every single weight class apart from Ngannou. We do not judge fights based on this. And ADC's good, man. Like, Joaquin Buckley hits fucking hard, and he's aggressive, and he's a dangerous guy to deal with. And he caught him with that kick really nicely. I think ADC wins. I think he wins by knockout. And I think, yet again, we will not find out why he has not fought in a few months, because he's not going to give us an interview. He's just gonna sail off like a fucking cowboy into the sunset.
I also think he's going to win. I think after the sort of apology he got pressed into last time, he's going to give a bit of an interview. I reckon he's going to win by decision. I just think with Al Hassan, he's just going to, because Al Hassan is a welterweight. Let's be real. Moving up, I don't know if this is his middleweight debut. I'm sure he's got middleweight fights in his past, but he's been fighting in welterweight for a long time. And ADC is no fucking joke. Like you said, he's a skilled guy, and I think he's going to slow the pace on this one. Just outpoint Al Hassan. It's not like Al Hassan's got a great gas tank anyway. ADC by decision and an interview.
Nice. Smiling Sam Alvey. He doesn't talk like that, but that's kind of the voice I imagine when I see his face.
He lives in a pineapple under the sea.
Smiling Alvey. I tried to make it work this time. I couldn't. He's taking on Wellington Turman, whose best win of his career so far is against Marcus Perez. I think Smiling Sam wins this one. I think he gets it done. I do.
I think Turman's going to get the submission.
I think
Turman's a young guy. He's got a lot of potential. What's the age difference on here? I think the biggest age difference is going to be Mana Martinez against Guido Conetti, but this one might push it.
It's 10 years. It's not small, but I think Smiling Sam.
I swear Turman's only 25. Sam Alvey's only 35. Nah. That's like a Cuban 35, bro. This dude's like 50. That is, I don't believe that for a second. He's the same age as me.
Kid's agey, and he's had a lot of kids. Fighting ages you, and he's had a lot of fights. Getting knocked out ages you, and he's been knocked out a lot. So, yeah, I still think he wins. I think he's going to awkward his way to a decision win. And he will definitely not get an interview.
No, they don't like giving him the interviews, to be honest.
No.
And that's fair enough, really.
He had a few fights ago that I think he won, and they gave it as a draw. And I think the only reason they gave it as a draw is to make sure that there wasn't a reason to interview him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. I've seen fights where he wins and they refuse to interview him. There's Sam Alvey. You get what you pay for. Turman is a young guy. Turman is definitely in the UFC way too early. But I think this one is actually a very good matchup for him. Alvey hits very hard. He's very robust. You know, he's kind of hard to damage for the most part. He will take some shots. And the thing is that a lot of guys end up making Alvey look good because they just sort of walk in and try and knock him out and end up getting caught with something stupid or just losing a very boring decision. I think Turman's going to be able to find the right entries to get him down. And I think when you get Alvey down, a guy of Turman's ability, one takedown, one submission attempt, one win. That's how I see it.
Fair enough. Well, we got some separation there. We'll see what happens on the card. Just running through the rest of the fights a little bit more quickly because I've got somewhere to be. We got Darren Stewart back taking on Dustin Jacoby, not Justin Jacoby. This is a light heavyweight again. Is this like a new thing for?
I hope not. I really hope not, because this is a mistake. I kind of understood with the Anders rematch. Maybe you didn't want to cut weight or whatever, but yeah. The dentist belongs in middleweight. I'm a big fan of Darren Stewart. Would love to have him on the show one day. Jacoby's got this though. Jacoby's a true light heavyweight. He's not a good stylistic matchup for Stewart because he's not going to come inside and get caught with them hooks. He's going to stay outside with that long jab. He's going to work the kicking game, and he's just going to piece up my man Darren. I don't like picking on this one.
This is a terrible idea for Darren. This is a terrible fight. Jacoby's going to win this on decision.
Yeah.
Not the one, Darren. Not the one. Women's flyweight. JJ Aldridge back, taking on Vanessa Demopoulos. I don't know anything about Vanessa Demopoulos, so JJ Aldridge for the decision win.
Yeah, guy, same way for the same reason. Fuck it, man. Even if I'd seen this guy, I rate JJ Aldridge, so it would kind of take a lot for me to pick against her. But yeah, JJ decision.
Right. Sound logic. Jamal Emmers is back and hopefully not getting popped for marijuana in his system this time because I don't think they test for it anymore, so he should be good. He's taking on Pat Sabatini. You'll pick first on this one, Josh.
It's another one where I don't really know where I'm leaning. I'm going to go with Jamal Emmers, but I think this one's fucking close. Actually, I would have said Sabatini was the older guy, and I'm looking him up now because I got it wrong earlier with Chikadze. Jamal Emmers, the older man by a year and a half. Yeah, I'm still picking Emmers. Emmers by decision. I'm
also picking Emmers by decision. And finally, the fight that you says has got the biggest age gap. The biggest wage
Probably
gap
both.
is anybody who fights Conor McGregor. And yeah, Mana Martinez taking on Guido Conetti. And you're right, 25 against 41. What a difference.
Yeah. And those 41 fights were all a long time ago. You know what I mean? The guy fights like less than
41 years old, not 41 fights. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Watch it. Yeah. What is Conetti's record? I was surprised he had that many fights. 8-6. The guy fights less than once a fucking year. I'm not shitting on him, but it's not great for your development. No. And he's old as fuck. Got knocked out in his last fight, I believe. And Mana Martinez, you know, this guy can bang. I think that was Ricky Tercios' last loss as well, was to Mana. Obviously, he was supposed to fight 5-star the other week. Yeah, Conetti got dropped, knocked out in the first round by Dana Bakgorel in his last fight. So I'm going to take Mana Martinez by knockout.
I'm going to take Mana Martinez as well. I'll say decision just so we got some split. And that's the card. It's a great little card. We've already discussed, me and Tom, the boxing that's happening on Sunday night between he who cannot be named in front of the presence of Josh and the chosen one, Tyron Woodley itself. I have to ask you this, though. Did you see the not quite riots, but the showdown that happened at the press conference?
No, I've seen like some stuff just come up in my news feed, but for the most part, I've been avoiding sports combat news because I only got caught up on the Ultimate Fighter yesterday. So I didn't want to know I was in the finale till I'd seen the semi-finals. I could give a fuck.
They dissed Woodley's mom.
Yeah, she's a cool fucking mum, man. one of the first people to congratulate Usman backstage when he beat Woodley. You know, she's
You
a
fuck with
classy
Mama
fucking
Woodley.
lady. Yeah.
Wait, I would say though.
What did they say?
I don't know. They said some shit, and then basically that set Tyron Woodley's sister off. So she got all up in Jake Paul's crew. And, you know, like, Woodley's from fucking Ferguson, Missouri. Like, his family don't take no shit. So obviously once that started going on, it all fucking kicked off. And then Woodley's, to be fair, was the most chill guy in the room about it. It was just like, what, are you saying shit about my mom? You've got Jake Paul just behind him saying, yeah, they're saying shit about your mom. What are you going to do about it, bitch? It's just like, dude, fuck, I hope he knocks him out. But UFC to enjoy first. That's definitely more important. Boxing's an afterthought. It's a less important fight. Watch this UFC card. It's going to be awesome. And on that note, I need to go get drunk for that thing.
And watch PFL tonight.
Watch that. We didn't get into that, but watch it. Because guess what? You won't even know who's fighting. It's a mystery box.
Huh? No, this is a good PFL. Shoeface, Chris Camozzi, Brendan Loughnane. Don't push me to remember everything. I've been drinking today already.
Other names. They're all there.
This is a good PFL. This is a pretty fucking stacked PFL card. Jason Knight. Jason Knight's back at the PFL.
Jason Knight.
Doing bare knuckle MMA, doing Game Bread's fucking bare knuckle MMA. Anyway, let's hurry up. Let's go to Red Rum. Let's get drunk. All right, bye. Nice. Bye, Laurie.
Bye, Dave. Bye, Laurie. Bye, Trifo.